Welcome everybody to the Employment Services Show podcast. I am your host Rana Kodahi, and today I do have a very special guest who I also call my friend. His name is Stephen Sofos. Now, Stephen has 15 years experience in employment services, working in all parts from marketing to manager to employer engagement to case management. Now, his LinkedIn summary is one of my favorites on LinkedIn. So I am going to read to you some of the things that he writes in his summary, which is he's so clear on his mission and why he does what he does. So this is what he says. Why I do what I do. I believe everyone that wants to work has the right to work. What I do, I engage with organizations and advocate for candidates who have a disability. How I do it, I network, talk to organizations about staffing needs, and come up with solutions. So I am a motivator, an inspirational speaker, an empathic listener, a negotiator, and most of all, I believe in and advocate for every one of our candidates. Wow, that's powerful, Stephen. And one more thing. He in 2010 he created a virtual employment consultant portal, which is www.jobseekeronline.com.au, which has so many resources from videos to resources of helping job seekers out there. So thank you so much for joining us, Stephen.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, Rana.
So let me just start with my own question, with my first question. Just quickly, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm actually, if you go all the way back, I'm actually a printer by trade.
Oh, wow, okay.
I ended up working for the Endeavour Foundation, and we had, there was over 1,300 people with disabilities working there, and I was a production manager in their printing section. When I left, they invited me to go back and actually managed one of their business services. I had 36 staff, and that was 30 people with a disability and 6 able-bodied people. And we turned that business around. It was losing $180,000 a year, and in 18 months we broke even. So that was my first time out of printing and into managing this stuff. And then after the Endeavour Foundation, I actually spent 6 years as a business development manager for the Endeavour Foundation. So I built, a lot of rapport with a lot of organisations. And a friend of mine had been working in disability employment. So when he told me what they did, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to help people with a disability get into work. So when I went in there, I found it quite easy because I had that pool or bank of employers, businesses that I already knew. So that's how I ended up getting into disability employment. And I've really enjoyed it. It's been rewarding. Because you're changing lives. It's not just getting people a job. It's changing lives, and that's a big thing.
Absolutely. So you were working at a printer, and you guys hired people with disabilities, and that's how you found out about disability employment services.
Yeah, we were actually part of a disability organisation.
Okay.
But in saying that, you're correct, because we did have a couple of people with disabilities come and help us in the print room. It sort of opens your eyes as to people's capabilities.
That's so true. So now, COVID-19 has affected many people around the world, and like I'm talking to you right now in May, but I am going to publish this at the end of June. So I don't know, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are still out of work, even in June, July, August, September. So what is because you're a career specialist as well, and you've helped so many people into work, from resumes to their confidence to even carving specific jobs for people. Now, I want to talk about giving advice firstly to job seekers who may be struggling at the moment or who have been made redundant due to the circumstances. What is some of the advice you would give them, Stephen?
What I've been doing with people I've been working with is I've been getting them to just research organisations they want to work for. So rather than looking for a job you want to do, look for someone you want to work for, find out what they want, and use this time to skill up to work for that person. Also contact them, just say you're interested. What I do with a lot of my clients is I get them to tell me who they want to work for, and I ring the employer and I say I have someone that's interested in working in your business. Now, the response I normally get is I don't have a vacancy. And I normally say, I'm not asking for a vacancy. I'm just asking for you to give me 5 minutes to bring my client down so you can meet him and tell him what you expect of him if he wants to work for your business. So that way, you're not asking the employer for a job, but you're making that connection straight away that, yes, I'm interested to work for you, and what do I have to do? And I've found most employers are quite open and receptive to that. And with the job seeker, I normally say, look, there's an opportunity to volunteer or just do a day's trial. Just do that. It just shows you're keen. So sometimes it takes away that, what sort of job can I do? Whereas I get them to think, okay, who would I really like to work for? Who have friends work for that have said they're really good employers? And just target it that way. So this time is a really good time to research who you want to work for, and sort of upskill yourself to that.
I love what you said. So just to break it down, research, upskill, 5 minutes, ask them for 5 minutes. I'm not asking for the job. I'm just asking to make that connection. If there's an opportunity, go in for trials, because it's very competitive. So many times people like to try before they buy, in sales products or even with people. And I love it how you broke it down. Thank you. That would be these are some great tips for job seekers out there. Now, I want to talk about the employment consultants now. The employment consultants who work in employment services helping unemployed people into work. Now they may be struggling to hit their job placement targets or sustainability targets. So what is some advice that you would give to those people?
It just hone your processes. A lot of ECs get stuck on the KPI. They've still got their KPIs now, but you can't control that number. You can't control the KPI. What you can control is the process of what you do. So while you're at home with COVID, just listen to podcasts, listen to salespeople, and just put some techniques they use into it. And, forget the number. The number's there, but you can't control it. Like with COVID now, I can't control having to sit at home and work from home, because that's just the way it is. So an example I give to ECs is when you hop in your car and you turn the car on, it actually doesn't do anything. You've got to put your foot on the pedal, and you've got to reach that KPI that's on a sign on the road that says 60 or 80. You actually have to do something to reach that goal. Same with being an EC. The number is there. You can't control the number. Someone's put it there. All you can do is control what you do and how you do it. And when I was in a coordinating role, if I had ECs that weren't meeting their KPIs, I would take them out, and what I would show them is the relationship between myself and employers. I didn't show them how to reverse market. I didn't show them how to go ask an employer for jobs. What I did was I introduced them to an employer that I had a good rapport with, and he explained to the EC why we had that rapport, why they trusted me to take clients to them. So it's all about the process. I mean, the number is there, and to tell you the truth, I've been in interviews where they've said, we've got KPIs of 4 a month. Does that bother you? And I don't care what the number is. I usually say, I'll guarantee I'll give you 100% effort each week. If I reach that KPI, that's fine. There'll be months I will, months I won't. But I will give you 100%. I don't care what the number is. I'll just do my best to keep placing people. That's what I'm doing the job for. Yes, and it's the same in sales. It's the same in everything. You've got to follow the process. So use this time to hone your skills. There's a lot of, like, when I listened to your first webinar, I took down like 7 pages of notes of things that I may have heard before and I've forgotten. You know, you're always learning. And that's what I say to ECs, learn what the other person does, watch what they do, what do they do well. An important thing is how you talk to the employer. Like I've gone from many desk services and I've dealt with the same employers, and it's very rare they ask me who I'm working for because I have that rapport with them. And that's what it's about. It's all about the rapport. I mean, there's ECs everywhere ringing businesses, you know, one after the other asking for jobs. Employers would get sick of it. But if an employer trusts you and you're going to put someone forward that you know is going to benefit their business and do it consistently, don't, you know, turn up with someone that you know is not going to work. Yeah, so with the ECs, just hone your processes. It's all about relationships. It's all about rapport. It's sometimes not about finding the vacancy. It's about creating the vacancy, showing the employer how he can save money. You know, there's lots of things to sales, as you know, Rana. There's, yeah. So, but the idea is just, and myself during this time, I love listening to podcasts and I love listening to TED Talks. So while I've been working at home, it's just continual learning, jotting down notes. I really like Simon Sinek with the stuff he does. So yeah, if you're happy to keep learning and you're happy to figure out how to talk to people, you'll make it.
I love Simon Sinek. So there's a lot of wisdom, knowledge, and experience in everything that you've said. And just start to break down some of the things that you said and summarize, you know, have processes. You can't control the KPI. Forget the number. Think about what you can control. It's not about making the I love what you said. I might even use it as a title. It's not about sometimes not about making the vacancy, but creating the vacancies. You use some great wisdom and analogies about the car. And I love how you take out people that are struggling with their KPIs and you take them out and you say, you don't show them how to make the sale, but you show them how your relationship is between the employer and yourself, because that is one of the most important things when it comes to selling, is that relationship and that trust. So thanks for sharing that. I'm going to go now into my next question.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of sales experience and knowledge, and just what you said before, you're listening to podcasts, you even did my webinar, and you have so much experience and you still took notes. So you're accumulating all this knowledge and experience throughout the years. How and in what ways has knowing how to sell helped you in your role in employment services over the years?
Because it's all about relationships. It's all about connecting with people. So once you get that skill as such, and I get on with it with lots of people. I listen to what they say. I listen to what they're interested in. I normally ask them their story. You know, how'd you get into this? And I take a genuine interest in what they do. You know, everyone likes to hear their story, but there's got to be someone to listen. And I genuinely like people's stories and listening. And when I was at the Endeavour Foundation, we printed a lot of products for people that had invented things. And I would ask them, like, how did you get onto this? You know, how's it changed your life? And you start to build that rapport and remembering. So while I'm talking about it, so remembering what that person has said to you is such a big thing. So when you see them next time, you can say, oh, you know, how was little Mary's softball game that she played in 2 weeks ago? So take a genuine interest in people, and you're always selling yourself. Like, be genuine. You know, listen. What can I say? Even when you say when you're working, even in mental health, just be empathetic to the story. Don't be sympathetic. Be empathetic. Listen to what they're saying. Know what they're going through, and then come back with a positive. But it's all about, and when you talk about relationships And when we meet a job seeker, inevitably they'll say, "Oh, can you help me write my resume?" And I say to them, "Look, I'm your best resume. Just tell me everything about you, what you want to do, how we're going to do it, what your goals are, because I'm your best resume." And it's all about relationships. Everything we do is about selling. It's about numbers. It's just, I'm so sort of passionate about it in a way. But
I can see that.
And some people say, "Oh, whenever we go out, you're always talking to people." But I genuinely find people interesting. I find their stories interesting, and that's why it makes the dealing with employers more interesting.
Yeah, because you come from a genuine place of loving people.
Yeah.
And it's in your nature, I guess. I think I asked you last time if you're an extrovert, and I think you did say that. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I love what you said, even when you said, "I am your best resume," because we know some of these people have had gaps for 5 years. Some of them, they may not have the best resumes or experience, but you are their resume. And, it takes your ability to sell their strengths and abilities and skills to that employer.
That's right. Because when you've got that rapport with the employer and you ring them and say, "I'm working with Fred and I think he'll really suit your business," the employer will normally say, "Yeah, bring him in." Because you've got that relationship. And again, I'm not asking for the job straight away. I have found someone that will genuinely fit into your business. What do you reckon? And most employers that I deal with, one of the biggest employers I had, sorry, I'll go back a step, was a guy out at the Rockley markets here in Brisbane. When I spoke to him about disability employment services, he just listened and he said, "Oh, look, I've been in business for so long, I'll do this just to give something back to the community." And I said, "No, you're going to do this to change people's lives. I will bring people to you that will suit your business, and by you employing them, we're going to change lives together." And I said, "I'm going to spend a day working for you for nothing so I can see what different roles you have. So when I put someone forward, I know that they will be suitable."
Wow, okay.
So I did that, and he ended up employing about 15 people. What we did was, if I found someone, we went in, he gave them half a day's trial for which he paid them. If they were good, he started them on 15 hours. And then what he ended up doing was he would then not sell's the word, but he would advocate for that person to another business in the markets, which would create another vacancy for me to take someone in.
Amazing.
So he would upskill them and it gave the person more experience as well.
Yeah, so lots of innovative ways that are marketing people with disabilities. Now, I'm going to move on to my next question.
Yep.
When it comes to hiring people with disabilities, what do you think some of the misconceptions are, and how would you challenge those misconceptions with an employer?
Okay. Right. Well, the main misconception is a person with a disability won't perform as well. They're going to have accidents. They'll have to, sorry for the word, babysit them. But what I say to people is I work with these people's abilities and I will bring them in based on their ability. And I will support them till they're ready, ready to go. But most of the employers, again, it's that relationship, because the employer knows that who I'm going to put forward is suitable for their business. But yeah, the misconceptions are those. Like when I worked at Vision Australia, for example, I got a lot of, "Well, how can a blind person do that?" And I'd say to them, "Well, I can tell you that a blind person runs Vision Australia in Queensland. A blind person is the head of their IT section." And I was blown away when I saw, a blind person fixing computers and organising software. So I say, don't focus on the disability, focus on the ability. And what I say to them is, when I come in to see you, I don't say to you, oh, look, hi, I'm Steve. I'm a little bit overweight. I'm losing my hair. I have high blood pressure. I don't do that. I come in and I say, hi, I'm Steve. I work for such and such. I'm going to bring people to you that are going to help in your business. They're going to be assets. It'll help with your staffing. You worry about your business. I'll worry about the staffing. So I said, when I come in and bring a person, I don't talk about the disability. I talk about their ability. And I don't know how many interviews I've had with disability organisations. And one of the first questions is, how do you feel about working with people with disability? I go, well, I don't work with people with disability. I work with people with abilities. That's what we've got to focus on to put them in employment, to achieve goals. You look at your strengths. You don't look at your weaknesses. We work on the weaknesses to slowly turn them into strengths, but we overcome them to do what's necessary. So, yeah, but there are lots of misconceptions out there that make it hard.
Yeah, and I mean, even I had misconceptions before I started working in disability employment. So yeah. I once went to train people that were deaf in cold calling, and I was asking the manager, okay, so tell me how they make these calls. Because I had the misconception, like how are they meant to make the calls? And she said, well, they have an interpreter that calls up on their behalf, and they just do sign language with the interpreter and tell the interpreter what to say to the employer. So they were employment consultants.
Yeah.
People with disabilities can do amazing things and sometimes they're actually more driven than
that's right.
somebody that does not have a disability, because it's like when I train those people from the Deaf Society, the employment consultants, they were the most motivated people to get on the phone and make cold calls.
That's right.
Believe it or not. They're more motivated than any other employment consultants I've ever seen.
Yeah. And when I was at Vision Australia, I'd actually I'd invite employers in, because half the staff were vision impaired. There were guide dogs walking around the office. And so you had HR people coming in. For example, the University of Queensland, they came in and they ended up being one of the best employers for Vision Australia in Queensland. They were just blown away when they saw what they were doing, and they then came to an agreement where they'd employ 6 to 12 people a year.
Wow.
So, yeah, that way they see what people are doing and blow away those misconceptions. But, as an EC, you've really got to push the benefits, the abilities. And again, it comes, sorry to keep coming back to it, but it comes back to your relationship with that employer, that business trusts you.
Yeah.
That you're going to put the right person forward. And then in saying that, you've got to make sure you're working with job seekers that are motivated to, to achieve goals. And unfortunately, not all of them want to work.
Yeah.
And if you work with the ones that do want to work, you'll get the results that you.
Yeah, and that's what we must focus on. So my last question, Stephen, is, I do love talking about job carving, because it is a critical component to an employment consultant's role, specifically in DES. Now, what are some of the top tips when it comes to job carving for someone with a disability? But firstly, just because there's a lot of people that are listening, whether it's employers or people in employment services that have never done job carving, can you please just very simply explain what job carving is, and then some tips that you would give to somebody that wants to start job carving?
Yeah, I see job carving as basically sharing a job. Is that what like job sharing?
Yeah, so creating a job that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Or even, jobs. There's also job sharing.
Yeah. Well, creating a job, that's again going in, having a look at the business, spending some time in there, talking to the employer. And a good example is, for example, Qantas. They were getting engineers to, when they had downtime, to fill their knives and forks, put them into packets. So you're paying an engineer that was getting, I don't know, $70, $80 an hour, compared to someone that's 23 that can do it. So what I did was we went back to them and we basically created this other pool of people that would do those, not menial jobs, but would do those jobs that someone with, an engineering degree didn't have to do. And then when I'm trying to think of another example, I walked into a golf range that was getting set up and spoke to them about DES, and they had no idea what DES even was. So I said, basically, you run your business, I'll run the staff, and you tell me what jobs need to be done. So one of the jobs that had to be done was picking up the golf balls, and these two guys that were golf professionals that were charging, back then it was $80 for half an hour for a golf lesson, would have to stop and go and pick up golf balls. So what we did was we ended up putting 5 people in on a rotating roster, who were getting $20 an hour to pick up the golf balls while they could go out and be golf professionals and teach people and generate $80, $90 an hour, because it wasn't, they were losing out on the 80, 90, because they had to do a job that others could do. And what we did with that job is, like I said, we shared it with 5 people. So they worked on a roster. It was a job one person could have done, but we ended up, sharing it there. So I hope that sort of answers the question. But with creating jobs, again, like I've been using LinkedIn a lot. So get onto LinkedIn, see what the business does. And if you search that employer on LinkedIn, you'll see people come up with different skills that work there. So from that, you can see what sort of people they employ. Do they employ engineers, plumbers, kitchen hands? So you're just building your knowledge about that employer. So you can genuinely ring them and say to them, look, I've got a guy that's got this experience. Can I bring him out to meet you and go through the process? So
absolutely. You've answered the question. You've given some great examples, specifically with the airline and the golfing. And I mean, a lot of employers don't realize that, like, they can hire someone to come in from 8 hours to 15 hours a week, because some people with disabilities don't want to work more than 15 hours or can't work more than 15 hours, for example. No. And it's not just the kind of blue collar kind of work, but it's more, I've heard of job carving where there was an engineer or an executive, where they could come in, someone with autism who worked in IT, and they said, okay, I can only work 15 hours. I can work from home. I can do the work that maybe I'm a specialist in. So it's anything from, from the secretary to the CEO level that you can cover job for. And that's just a message to employees that are listening as well. So get in contact with your local desk provider to find out more about that. So any last words, Stephen, before I wrap up and I ask where people can find you? Any last words?
No, just to the ECs, I'll leave you with a thing that I do with clients. When I work with the client, because when you've got to get up every morning and you're unemployed and you think, I've got to get a job, it really gets you down. So what I do with job seekers is I give them an envelope. On the outside of that envelope, I ask them to write what their goal is. Most of them will write to get a job. We then turn the envelope over, and on the inside of the flap, I ask them to write why they want the job. A lot of people just say to get extra money, get Centrelink off my back. I've had that one a few times. And then I give them the card. On the desk, I slide over a card and I say to them, on the back of that card, I want you to write a heartfelt reason as to why you want to achieve that goal. How is it going to change your life? And if they go to start writing straight away, I say, don't have a really good think, because this is why we're doing this. So, and in saying that, there were a couple of people that started crying, and I felt bad about it. But anyway, they'd write it and put it in the envelope. We'd then close the envelope, and I'd say to them, put that next to your bed in the morning when you wake up. If you can't get out of bed because of what your goal is, turn it over, open the flap, and have a look at the reason. Why is that your goal? If that doesn't get you out of bed, take the card out and read in your own words, your own writing, as to how achieving that goal will change your life. And then I say to them, if that doesn't get you out of bed, turn that card over, because on the back of that card is the name of at least one person in this world that believes you can achieve your goal and change your life. And the back of the card was my business card. And I'd say to them, there's the name of one person that's not going to let you down, and you're not going to let him down, because we're now here to change your life. We're not here to get you a job. And it just changes. You need a really good excuse for not wanting to change your life when it's in a bad way.
Wow, Stephen, that's one of the best things I've heard. Thank you for sharing that. I might even use that because I usually use like a 1 to 2 minute kind of teaser to show people what's inside the podcast. Because also, I mean, you know, it's not the what, it's the why, but also not just the why on a logical level, because we know people don't connect logically, they connect more emotionally. And the more you can move people to for their purpose, and even people crying, that's great. Sometimes you need to cry and feel the emotion to want to take action. Yeah. And also it's, like the fact that not a lot, but some employment consultants can't build that rapport or that growth mindset where they see their customer from a growth mindset lens, where you're seeing them from a growth mindset lens, no matter what their background or their history is. I don't worry about the background.
And that card, that they write on, I never ever looked at any of those. That was between the job seeker and that card. Whatever they wrote.
Wow.
Was between you.
I got goosebumps when you were telling that story. I can't wait to share it. Okay, so thank you so much for your time.
You, Rana.
Where can people if you can give us your email, where people can email you if they want to get in contact, and also your LinkedIn, your name on LinkedIn, and also your employment consultant portal. So those three. And I'll put them in the show notes, but if you can just tell them to us now.
Yeah, I will do.
So where can people find you if they want to get in contact?
Oh, sorry. If they want to contact me personally, if they email Stephen, STEPHEN.S @NAFWAN, N for Nelly, A for Apple, F for Fred, W for whatever W stands for, A for Apple, M for Mary, .com.au.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you think of nice and friendly, warm and mellow, that's NAFWAN. You can email me there. My website is www.jobseekersonline.com.au. Yep. It's like a virtual EC type thing. And my LinkedIn profile it's actually under Steve Sofos on LinkedIn, because there's another Stephen.
And I'll put that in the show notes as well. So if anyone wants to connect. So thank you so much. I enjoyed this time so much. Your experience and your wisdom shines through everything you said. And I know we only had a short time, but thank you so much for sharing all of your wealth knowledge with job seekers, with employment consultants, and also with employers, who are our three kind of audience that we focus on. So I appreciate your time, Stephen. Have an amazing day.
Same to you, Rana. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you.
Goodbye.